Hi everybody. Today I would like to talk about some historical events. First of all, we'd like to ask you to consider very special circumstances that a lot of youngsters in a place they don't really think they belong to that country, and that is exactly what's happening in Hong Kong. Because a lot of youngsters they don't consider themselves as Chinese, but instead they think themselves as Hong Kongers, and this is proof in the statistic of the Economist article. Almost nobody in Hong Kong under 30 identifies as Chinese, and it's to say that about 70% of the age group between 18 to 29 see themselves as Hong Kongers instead of Chinese, and this is a very special situation because no other country might have this special situation, and there's a historical reason behind this because Hong Kong was used to be a British colony for about more than 150 years, and years under the British rule shaped the city we have today, and Hong Kong has this unique culture and different social hierarchy than mainland China, and that's probably the reason that make why Hong Kong youngsters think they're not Chinese. And I was born and grew up in Hong Kong, and I learned the history of Hong Kong from my high school learning, and I think I would be capable to inform you guys about what led Hong Kong to become a British colony. And first of all, I would talk about the incident that made Hong Kong became a British colony. So that is the Opium War, and the Qing government's defeat in Opium War led to the Treaty of Nanking that Qing government they signed to cede Hong Kong to the British government, and so for that day Hong Kong officially became a part of British territory, and I think we would like to move on to talk about the reasons and the causes that made that lead to Hong Kong become a British colony. And so the first thing is the British imperialism, and so the British they're active and eager to expand their colony in the 19th century, and so by that time they have almost about 2/3 of the world is in their own territory, and Britain gained a lot of profits and benefits from their colonies and a lot of huge and raw materials. So they have long been eager to expand their own territory, and also the Industrial Revolution aided its expansion act, because under Industrial Revolution they have a lot of advance in technology, and that really have their eagerness. And I think we would like to move on to the second factor that made Hong Kong became a British colony. So the factor is that the Chinese government, the Qing government in the 19th century, they're being covered for the other foreigners as they're trying to gain benefit from them. So and that is due to because of the weakening national power of China in the 19th century, and the very main reason is the popularity of opium among the nation. And so opium was imported by the British merchant as a counter for the export of Chinese tea to Britain. So they find that we're losing money because we're buying a lot of tea from China. So we have to balance the situation. So opium was soon became popular in China, and even government officials and army soldiers had a habit of taking opium. And from the imperialism in 19th century China, there's by Professor Teng Chung, and he talked about the theory of opium imperialism. So he described as the act of selling opium in China as a well-calculated move for British imperialistic approach. So the British had planned well for this move, and also China was being very self-centered by the time, as they're still thinking we are the center of the world, and they see the Western countries as barbarian at the first place. And as is described in the Exchanges of Threats, the Opium Wars, this article by Horst J. Held, he talked about the Chinese see the foreigners as barbarian because they have not much knowledge about their culture, and they see their culture as superior than a lot of the countries near them. So they was being self-centered, and so we have talked about that the Qing government is weakening and coward act, and we'll talk about why British saw Hong Kong Island as beneficial, so they want it. And this is because the Victoria Harbour in Hong Kong, they find it very suitable for a lot of big ships to park near. So they think it's really beneficial, and they think they could develop a commercial ad in this area. So they chose the Victoria. They chose Hong Kong Island. So they made Hong Kong became a part of Britain, and I would like to conclude that the result of colonization of Hong Kong was more than just a single cause, because we've discussed a lot of causes that. So I think history is far more complicated than what we think, and I think Britain's enthusiasm derived from imperialism, the Qing government's weakening power and cowardly act, and the Hong Kong's special location. It really contributed to the result that the Qing government ceding Hong Kong by signing the Treaty of Nanking. And I think that the British may not foresee that the colonization of Hong Kong in 1842 would lead to the establishment of a special identity as Hong Kong, as they might not think that that the Chinese people live in Hong Kong, they will gradually develop the sense of identity as being Hong Kongers instead of Chinese. As that is what we observe from today's Hong Kong society among the youngsters. And I think it's really interesting to see how historical event affected today's society that much. And this is the end of my sharing. So thank you for listening.